All right, triple threat document ads. Hello, marketers, and welcome to another episode of LinkedIn Ads Radio. Today, I'm excited to deep dive on one of LinkedIn's newest ad formats and even post types, the new document ad format. Been having a lot of fun working with these, and we've been seeing a lot of success with them. I think they're a great new format to come to the platform, both for users and for advertisers. So in today's episode, we're going to deep dive and go real deep on document ads, how we think about them, how we approach them, and then we'll go through a whole bunch of different tips and tricks so that you can get the best performance out of your document ad. Now, before we dive in, some updates from the news. So you've been probably seeing a whole lot more AI on LinkedIn recently. I know I've seen it pop up in basically every different facet of LinkedIn. I've now seen it in Sales Navigator, where now instead of selecting your different filters for building your list, you can now type in and explain your audience. And then that kind of takes that and translate that into your targeting criteria. Interesting way, because there are so many options in Sales Nav. And I can imagine for somebody who, as an expert in Sales Nav, it might be easier to type in and explain your audience and then see what the AI translates that to in terms of the filters selected. And I think in either way, sometimes maybe it's interesting to, if you've been using certain filters, try typing in the audience that you're trying to reach and see what that generates. In the beginning here, it seemed relatively basic, where I typed in a couple basic audiences and it kind of gave me the expected filters. And there was a couple of ones that were selected that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Think about adding that one in. So feel free to test out your audiences. And I think it'll get even better as we go. What I'm excited for is maybe seeing how that translates into keywords that are used. Maybe it can do some more, it'll be pulling from a larger data set to scan profiles when you describe your audience and seeing how that translates into targeting. So AI is now in Sales Navigator. We've seen it on the post creation side on LinkedIn. It's also now in the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. They are doing a beta in terms of now you can create and run campaigns where the targeting, campaign creation, and the ad creative can all be generated by AI. Of course, you can select different things, each of those steps, to kind of give the AI some direction depending on the campaign you're looking to run. But then the AI will generate a large portion of that. So these are all kind of early stage betas, but it's exciting to see ever since, the Microsoft and OpenAI partnership, seeing all these new tools come to the platform. Again, it's still very early days. I'm excited to see where this goes in the future. For another item, LinkedIn just released their How to Win B2B quarterly report. There's some interesting stats in there to kind of follow along these quarter to quarter. They'll talk about different trends on the platform down to like different hashtags, what are the most popular hashtags, along with some industry research they're doing. So there's some interesting stats there, things to kind of follow along. The interesting things, kind of like top performing hashtags recently. And of course, AI is in like the top 3. It wasn't the first, but it was in the top 3. Some other ones in there were innovation and leadership. If you're hosting on the platform, it's good to use popular hashtags because other people that are following those hashtags will be more likely to see your post in their feed. So there is some benefit of knowing what are the most popular hashtags. Then they shared some other stats on the ad side, sharing that conversation ads get 2x the open rates of message ads. I thought that was interesting. There's been this recent big push to bring message ads back. I do like the message ad format for certain type of quick hit offer that you might be sending. Conversation ads are nice because you can build a chat tree and then somebody can kind of choose their own adventure through those chat bubbles. So I think they both have a use case there. It was interesting to see that conversation ads get 2x the open rates. I wonder if that's something around the subject lines that are used, or maybe certain ones will open on the homepage automatically versus the other one you have to click to open. I thought that was interesting. And then thought leader ads are getting 1.7 times higher CTRs than your average sponsored content ad. And that's very clear. We've seen all the thought leader ads we've run, they've gotten much higher engagement rates than your standard sponsored content ad. And sponsored content ad on LinkedIn the benchmark is about 0.4% CTR is the average. With a well-designed ad, you can usually beat that pretty well. And then we've seen thought leader ads get, it's not uncommon to have 5% CTRs. So I've seen, many multiples of the benchmark. And that also allows you to bid lower and get better costs with those super high engagement rates. So some awesome stuff to see there. And then also the CAPI API, the conversions API is, I think, rolled out of beta now. And now it's kind of full access in the platform. So we've seen more partner platforms in the platform when you're going to set up conversions, API conversions. So now there's like a selector in the platform. So you can select HubSpot, you can select Salesforce, and some other options there. I'm excited to see that because especially in B2B, there's so much that happens offline in the sales process that we want to be able to track. So this will give us a lot more hooks into being able to see those events and the impact of those events in LinkedIn Campaign Manager. So those are some very exciting things to see. We're also right in the middle of Q1 right now. The recording of this is late January. Q1 is always some of the best performance on LinkedIn. People are back from the holidays. They're excited for the year. The rising prices we saw in Q4 have now kind of reset. We've seen lower costs and much higher engagement rates, and then also much higher conversion rates. So now that people are back to work and planning out their year, they're looking for new tools and solutions. So they're opting in to more demos and stuff like that. So now's a very good time to be running your advertising. This is where you're going to build your list, build your leads that you're going to go then work later in the year. Lastly, if I haven't mentioned it yet, if you're ever looking for a second set of eyes on your ad account, we offer audits for LinkedIn ad accounts. So if you ever want a second set of eyes on your ad account to say, am I on the right track? Could I be improving my costs? Is my ad creative good? Is my targeting good? Sometimes it's nice just to have like a second set of eyes on those things. So if you ever are interested in that, you can reach out to me and my team will audit your ad account. We have different checklists we'll run through that will review your account structure. We'll review campaign configurations. Sometimes you'll find little things in there that are just like set up incorrectly, or maybe you're not using the most ideal setting there. So we'll look through all that and let you know our thoughts on that. We'll look through your targeting and review that. And then, of course, going through your ad creative and let you know if we have any feedback on any of the ad creative that's there. We'll pull some other examples that we've seen work well in similar industries or competitors, and then share those with you as well. All right. So next, let's dive into the meat of this episode here. So today we're talking about document ads. So if you've been on the platform recently, you've noticed this new post format and ad format on the platform where now you can have a post that is, it looks like a few slides of swipeable information that you will see in this post. Kind of looks like a normal sponsored content newsfeed post for the most part, but then where the image usually is, that is a swipeable section. So you can swipe through a few slides of information. To start, it supports a few different file formats, such as PowerPoint slides, PDFs and stuff like that. So you can, if you have certain documents that you have laying around that are popular, feel free to upload those right to the platform. And then you can create your document post doing that. So that's how a lot of people started with this and one of the reasons why LinkedIn started with this was lead magnets and content downloads and just sharing content in B2B is like one of the most common formats of advertising. So lots of people run ads to get leads to sign up to download a piece of content. So this was originally created to kind of shortcut that process and make it easier for advertisers to have to go upload your asset to some third-party website and then do a lead capture and then automate that lead to another system and then send an email. Now you can just use this document ad format to upload your document. Someone can opt in to download it and then they'll receive that document. But there comes a lot of other benefits of this format that we'll talk about today. Also, if you've used any other social platforms, primarily Instagram, I see this a lot where you'll upload multiple photos and you'll be going to your feed and you can see that you can swipe through a section, someone's post that has multiple photos and you'll swipe through a few of those photos and you can see all those different photos there. So very popular on Instagram. Lots of people upload multiple images and you can swipe through and kind of see a story. Maybe it's like someone's day or some trip they went on, and you can swipe through and see a few different images of them. So it packs more information into a single post. We see that LinkedIn often follows other platforms out there. So features that have existed on other platforms, LinkedIn, I think they kind of, see how those perform on other platforms and learn from that. Facebook changes very quickly. Other platforms change very quickly. And then LinkedIn, I think, goes the more tried and true method and sees what's works on other platforms. What do our users want? What's appropriate for our professional community? And then they'll kind of leverage what they see there and build those features for our users here. So we've seen that with polls. We've seen that with LinkedIn Lives. And it's exciting to see that some of these other popular features on other platforms are now making it to LinkedIn. And I've also been very impressed about all the new features that have been released recently. That LinkedIn is really putting their foot on the gas and creating a lot of new great features for the platform. So document ads, they're a great new format because you can convey a lot of information in multiple slides rather than having just one image on screen at any given time. You can put a lot more information into that post. I will say they are more work to create, which also kind of creates less competition for you because with it being more work to create these document ads and post, if you are creating them, less others are creating them because you have to put in the work to put that content together, design that piece of content, and then upload that to the platform where it's a lot easier to do just a text post or an image post and then text ads, image ads. So these are more work and there's less competition because of that. Now, if you've been a LinkedIn user or marketer for any given time, you might say, well, we've already had a kind of swipeable format in what's called carousel. Carousel ads have been on the platform since very early days. They've been around for a while where you can have multiple cards of information. They can have a headline in each card. You can have an image in each card. They can work with lead forms and kind of all that good stuff. You can click through their website or use a lead form. They've been around for a while. If you've been a user, you've probably seen them. If you've been an advertiser, maybe you've tried them before. In my experience, document ads are much better than carousel ads. And I think that's for a few different reasons. And historically, as we've always compared both image ads to carousel ads, and then like lead gen ads using both images and carousel ads, we very often saw that image ads outperform carousel ads for a lot of different reasons. Number one is that carousel ads reduce the amount of creative space you have because they are trying to put a couple different cards on screen. So you actually have a smaller visual space that you're using. So that gives you less visual space to grab the viewer's attention. So they had lower engagement rates because of that. And then number two is I think they screamed ad a lot more because you could only display one of these if it was an ad. So people would start to see these and then they would know that this is an ad and be less likely to engage with it because of that. So number three is that you couldn't retarget swipes. So swiping was an easier interaction, had been an easier interaction, of course, but you couldn't retarget when somebody just swiped on your carousel ad. You can now do that with document ads, which is great for retargeting. And then number four is if you had different URLs in the different cards in your carousel ad, like if card A linked to the homepage and card B linked to a product page, you could actually be charged twice if the user clicked on both of those links. The way that the LinkedIn documentation describes it is that it will charge you for each unique click. So you can be charged twice on one ad. That's not an ideal scenario for advertisers. Every time we tested these, both just for linking to the website and then also for lead gen, we very often saw that CTRs were lower than image ads, which made us have to pay more because of that. And we also saw lower conversion rates because of it. We think, people, this kind of screamed ad, and then all these other reasons we mentioned here. All right. And then if you've been using the organic side of the platform, if you've tried out document ads at all, because this is one of LinkedIn's newest formats, document posts are getting a lot more reach in this organic side of the algorithm. So document posts are doing great right now. If you're posting a lot organically, document ads are a great format to test out. Again, for similar reasons that it's very easy to engage with. A lot of the algorithm on all social platforms are based on engagement. So swiping is a very, kind of low barrier to entry engagement. It's very easy to do. It's kind of enticing. Somebody sees an image that grabs their attention. They're like, okay, what else is in this document? And then they're going to swipe through a few slides there of information. So it's a very easy engagement. It kind of draws the user in to swipe to learn more. So these platforms see that as an engagement. That's a positive sign. So we're going to show this post to more people because of that. So organically, document ads are getting a lot of great reach because it's very easy for the user to engage with them. So that therefore we're seeing very high engagement rates, and then the algorithm is promoting those to even more people, which then that's the goal, is getting your organic post in front of as many people as possible, engaging your audience. So document posts are doing awesome. Interestingly, it's also that we're noticing more comments on document posts. And I think that's because you can put a lot more information in that document post. There's more for the viewer to connect with, and it does feel like more of an authoritative resource versus just an image or just text by itself. When you put something into a document format, whether it's a PDF or a slide deck that you're uploading there, it kind of feels like this piece of information, this educational resource that you're sharing kind of carries some weight with it. So it's interesting to see that people have engaged with these more. So we're seeing a lot more comments, a lot more conversations happening because of it. So there's more for your viewer to connect. And lastly, these also get shared more than average. And it's because this is an educational resource that you're sharing with your network, and people see that. And if they like that resource, they want to also share that with their network. So they kind of feel like they're sharing this valuable resource with their network. So again, these kind of carry more weight than just an image or just text by itself will carry. It kind of feels like you're sharing a valuable resource with your network, and then other people want to engage with that and want to share. So that's some kind of thinking behind these. When these first came out, the most common use case was if you were running content downloads using lead magnets, you would upload these resources to the ad, and then somebody would swipe through maybe like one or two slides of this, and then it would ask them, if you want to get the rest of this resource, opt in, submit this lead gen form, and then you'll get access to this. And it's kind of a more seamless experience where you can just upload that right to the ad. The viewer can opt into it, and then they can download it right there from the ad. So you don't need to go host this on a website. Faster and easier to do rather than having to worry about external URLs. So that's how most people use it in the beginning. And what we often saw was they did okay, but they often did not beat the performance that we saw from our image ads. And I think that's because our image ads, we've iterated these on a lot. We have very good templates and formats that we know work well for, a visual to grab someone's attention. Headline I'm going to put there, the image, and then a CTA button telling them to click to opt in to download this. or request a demo or whatever that image is going to do. But often when I have a PDF or a guide or a report that I'm looking to use as a lead magnet, it's not often optimized for that. So it might have kind of a standard size. It might have a cover page. A PDF with a good cover page usually perform better, but people don't often put buttons on their cover pages. That's not going to say download on the cover page when this is the actual PDF itself. And then for slide decks, they're often in, short horizontal format. So they take up less space because of that. So just all these different ones we split tested, we very rarely saw them beat the performance of our image ads because these images were designed to get someone's attention and encourage them to opt in to download this resource, whereas the resource itself was just meant to be the resource, not actually type about itself. All right. Now bringing this back around, we're talking about PDFs and reports. The document format, it's just a format that allows you to put a few pages of a PDF into an ad. That doesn't necessarily need to be the report or the guide. You could design a PDF or you could design a few pages of information like we design images where we want to have a headline, where we want to have a call to action, and we want to convey information to the user. So we design our images for LinkedIn. You could also do that same thing with these PDFs that you're using in document ads. So someone doesn't need to opt in to download that document, but maybe you use the lead form to request more information or request a demo. Or maybe you just have a link to a website. But from taking a step back, there's a lot of different ways we can use documenting. Now, the primary way I think about document posts and document ads is that they are an effective format for conveying multiple slides of information to the reader. I have the ability to share more than one image worth of information. I have the ability to share several slides of information that someone can scroll through. So that's the primary use case for that here. So they get a very high engagement rate and they get very cheap engagements, which you can then retarget in other stages, in other campaigns. So you can now build a retargeting audience based on somebody who has swiped through your document. It's a very easy interaction to get from the user, and that allows you to get very cheap cost pers when you're doing retargeting. So if you have just a standard image ad, your retargeting is based on clicks to that image ad. So I can only retarget, for your standard image, sponsored content image ad, you're probably paying, $8 to $12 per click versus a document ad. I can get a lot more swipes for a lot cheaper. So I can then go retarget those swipes in a retargeting campaign. So it allows me to achieve cheaper retargeting engagements because I'm looking right here now at one recent document ad I just launched. And with $100 spent, I have 19 clicks, and that's about $5.25, $5.50 per click. Which is on the cheaper end itself. That's pretty good for a CPC cost, but it also has 349 engagements, and that is people swiping on the document ad, which comes out to being 28 cents per engagement. So if I was just retargeting clicks to the image ad, maybe, that would be about $5 per click, but I can also retarget swipes to the document ad, and that's 28 cents per engagement. So that's 20 times cheaper retargeting. So that's kind of the primary value, is getting a lot of engagements for very cheap. And then everything else after that is kind of just gravy. So you also have the opportunity to convey more information to your reader rather than just a single image worth of information. The caveat I'll say is being honest that a swipe is a pretty easy interaction. It's a very low intent interaction. If somebody does click on your image to go to your website, that does kind of convey more intent. They are looking to click through to learn more there. If they click to open a lead form, that's another level of intent. If they submit a form, that's another level of intent. If they go to your company page, that's another level of intent. If they go to your website, that's also another level of intent. So keeping in mind that these are low intent interactions, but it's a great way to lower that barrier to entry and get your audience engaging. And then you can retarget them I would probably filter them through another campaign before I offered a third demo campaign. So this is kind of the concept of having multiple layers of retargeting. You might have your cold campaign, that is the document ads, and where we're having a lot of success with these, where these fit in very well is using these in your cold targeting, because it's very easy to get that interaction and get somebody started in your funnel. So you can get those interactions in the cold layer very easy with the document ads, and then you can go retarget somebody with other ads after that. And then you might put them through a couple of different layers of retargeting before they get to your demo. But doing so, that'll get you cheaper clicks in your retargeting layer. So if you're just running sponsored content image ads to your website, you're going to get a certain CTR and certain CPC. But if you run document ads first and then retarget with those, you might get twice the CTR and half the CPC. Because how about some limitations of the document ads? So the first is the retargeting limitation, is that with a video ad, you can retarget based on the length of the video that somebody watched, which is a great way to build your retargeting audience. If your video is like a minute or two long, you often want to say, if someone just watches a few seconds, I don't want to retarget just that. But if they watch 25% or 50% of my video, that shows more intent there. And then maybe I just want people that watched half the video. So I can know that somebody watched half the video, show some kind of interest there. If they just watch a couple seconds, and that's probably not really interested. I wish we could do that with document ads. Right now, it's just any interactions with the document ad, or chargeable interactions with the document ad, which could be clicking to a website, clicking to your company page, or clicking open the lead gen form. So I wish we could do retargeting based off how far somebody swiped through your document ad. I hope that's coming down the road. The second limitation is that there's not a big clickable headline like there is with an image ad. That is the nice part of image ads, is you have a headline that's down there below where you can use that to maybe label your offer, tell someone the action you want them to take. Document ad, they have a headline, but it only appears when you mouse over the document. It'll slide down from the top. Pretty small. It doesn't get a lot of attention. Doesn't really serve like a headline would. I wish we could have a headline below the document, just like we have with image ads. And then lastly, is that acknowledging that they are more work to create. You have to sit down and write out the content that you want into this document. So you probably have to write out a few pages of copy for the image, for the pages of the ad. And then you also have to have somebody design up this multiple pages of a PDF versus just creating one. All right, next, let's talk about what does the ideal document ad look like? So first is to know that when you are uploading your document to the document ad, you can only show up to 6 pages of the ad. You have a slider where you can say, I want to show 1 page, and then someone has to opt in, or I want to show 2 pages or 3 pages, but that slider only goes up to 6. So if you have a 7-page PDF, you are not able to show all 7 pages. Somebody must either click download or opt in to get the full PDF. So keep that in mind, is anything past 6 pages won't be seen. So the best format to use is, number one, starting with an attention-grabbing cover page. You probably want to have a big headline there, maybe a visual that draws somebody in, using a visual of what it is that your company does, or a visual that represents your target audience, and then have some directions to tell them to swipe. Without those directions, somebody might just assume it's an image ad and kind of continue to scroll by, but let them know, put a little arrow that says swipe, and then that'll kind of show somebody that they can swipe through that document. Then after that cover page, you probably want to have 3 to 4 pages of information. I like to use lists where you'll label maybe like the top 5 reasons to use this HR system, or top 5 new features of the platform, or how these 5 companies achieved XY result. You can put a series of case studies in there too. So I like to have lists and then label those pages so somebody knows as they're swiping through kind of where they are in your doc. Now, after those informative pages, I like to have kind of an ending page where it's going to recap. It's going to have some information about the company that we're advertising on behalf of. It's going to have their logo, a little blurb about them, and then it's going to mention what their URL is. Of course, we can't click through right there on the document ad in feed, but just to let them know, here's our URL, go here to learn more. Some people will just hop over to Google and then search for that. You might choose to put that about the company page before you get to the informative pages, because someone's probably scrolling through to get to that informative information. Maybe after a couple of slides, they drop off or continue. So maybe it's good to also put that informative page before you get to the information. And in any of these cases, you can split test that and then keep an eye on how far your viewers have made it through your document. Those are performance stats you can get in LinkedIn Campaign Manager. And then lastly, the best format is the slightly tall format, 1200 by 1500 pixels, that vertical size that'll take up more screen real estate. And that always increases, interaction rates, because you're going to take up more screen real estate, give you a bigger space to grab someone's attention. So note that this is not your standard slide deck. Horizontal slides are not the best because they're going to be short. Text is going to be small. And then with it being that small, it's going to be harder for someone to read. They're probably going to scroll away. All right. And so you can also attach a lead gen form to these document ads. If you're using them to promote the guide that you're putting there, you'll want to have that lead form, promote, opt in to download the rest of the guide. But I also like to use these for when you design a PDF that's meant to be in feed, not necessarily meant to be a lead magnet that someone would want to get. I want to convey a few slides of information, and it would attach other lead forms. For a cold audience, maybe it's just learn more or request more info about XYZ. If this is a retargeting ad, then maybe it's like get a demo or request a free trial type of lead form I would want to offer there, whatever is kind of the next step in the journey. So now we've kind of been talking about using these for drawing high engagements in your cold layer, maybe for lead gen as well. These document ads are also great to put into your retargeting campaigns because, again, it keeps people on the platform, which whenever someone has to click off the platform, you're going to have a very high drop-off rate. You're going to have to wait for page loads and stuff like that. So it's a very easy way to keep information in the feed somebody can consume and quickly swipe through a few pages. It's a way to convey more information than just a single image ad done right there in the feed, you have much higher consumption rates, and then that'll be a lot higher cost per learning. Because getting somebody to your website to read a blog post or to read your product page can be a big journey. Someone's got to click on your image ad. You got to wait for the page to load. They then have to scroll through that page. There's a lot of drop off that happens in that. Just check your Google Analytics to see what your bounce rate is on your paid traffic. Paid traffic is usually a lot higher bounce rate than your organic traffic. That's very common. Instead of making somebody go through that journey and knowing that you're going to have a high drop off, just put that content right in the feed so they can just swipe and learn that right there. You'll have much higher engagement, and then you can also retarget all those swipes. So consider repackaging your core benefits, your core insight into a document ad, and then putting that right in the feed for your customer. I also like to use a list of case studies, a list of reasons why to try our software and stuff like that. I think they're also better than image ads, especially for cold audiences, because people don't watch video on LinkedIn as much as they do on other platforms. People are often using LinkedIn during the day when they're busy, maybe jumping between meetings. So videos don't get as much of a watch, especially to cold audiences. That's where I see document ads usually perform better to cold audiences, because it's a very easy swipe to read a few slides of information versus making somebody watch a video where we often have very low watch rates. Video ads do much better in retargeting audiences. If they already have seen your brand, maybe been to your website, then they're going to be more likely to watch a video. All right. So pulling this all together in the end here, this is how document ads become the triple threat ad format. Number one, they are a very high engagement ad. I can get a lot of swipes for very cheap, and then I can retarget those engagements in a retargeting campaign. Number two, I can put a link to my website in the body. So if somebody does want to click through, they can click on that to click through. Keep your body short so that somebody doesn't have to click the read more button, because they're probably going to spend their time swiping through the document rather than reading the text of your ad. You don't want to have your body copy compete with the PDF. It can be done where you can have both, where somebody maybe swipes the document and then goes reads the copy, but maybe you want to keep that link above the read more truncation there. And lastly, is you can attach a lead form to your document ad so that if you did want to attach a learn more or request more info, or if this is being used as a retargeting ad, maybe you offer the next step, which is, request a demo or start a free trial from there. So with those three kind of options there, you'll get a lot of engagements for very cheap, which you can then retarget. You can direct people to the website, or you can offer them that lead form to request more info or request a demo. That's the triple threat. All right. And then some final tips and tricks here that I recommend. Number one is do tell people to swipe, or else they might just think it's an image. So put a little arrow there, tell people to swipe to go through the rest of the document. That'll increase your engagement rate. Number two is to use the tall page size. You can do square or you can do tall, but do avoid the short horizontal slides. If you're exporting like a Google slide deck and then uploading that, that's going to be too short. You're taking up less screen real estate, and you're going to get a lower engagement rate. Because number three is don't use super small text. Don't try to cram too much information into the PDF just because you're thinking about it like a document. Don't try to write a whole page of information there. Think about big headlines that are readable in the feed that somebody can just scan through to read. And then lastly is do incorporate some visuals, especially on your cover page. Maybe you have a visual that reflects either your product or service or your target audience to make that connection so that gets them to swipe through the rest of the document. All right. So that's a lot of information about document ads. I hope you see them in a whole new light the next time you go to LinkedIn and scroll through your feed. So go check them out there. That's all we got today for document ads. Stay tuned for more episodes here in the future. Upcoming content is going to include episodes around funnel structure. We've talked a lot about this recently on LinkedIn. So this is going to be definitely a deep dive is definitely going to be coming up in a future episode where we'll talk about, how to set up and configure your ad account for best performance. We'll talk about retargeting layers, persona layers, and stuff like that. And then all the considerations you want to think about when you're structuring your ad account. And then another episode on creative best practices where we'll deep dive on, we talked a lot about the optimized images here and why those perform so well on LinkedIn. We'll take an episode to go super deep on image ads and creative best practices so that you'll know exactly what to put in your ads to get the best performance on LinkedIn. All right. So that's what we got for you today. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or send an email to podcast@speedworksocial.com.